This video covers the questions in the toolkit about accessing IT systems and backing up data. Question 4.2.4 is about people's access to IT systems. Now, personal confidential data should only be accessible to staff who need it for their current role, and access should be removed as soon as it's no longer required. So you should know who has access to IT systems, and you should be able to tell who has login to which parts of your systems. That's why it's important that people have individual logins, and the people who have access to personal data have their access rights revoked if they leave or change role. So if that's what you do, and you have systems in place to ensure that only the people that should have access to your systems have that access, then you can tick this box on this question. You can write some comments here if you like, and then save that question. The question 4.5.3 is about multi-factor authentication, or MFA. And sometimes that's known as two-factor authentication, or 2FA, or even two-step verification. It's all the same thing. Now, this question asks whether you are using MFA on all remotely accessible user accounts on all systems. This is a new question for the DSPT year 2024 to 25. So for all your online accounts, and that's accounts like email, digital social care record, HR systems, and so on, if it's available, you should use MFA. Because MFA is a way of making your online accounts much safer by adding extra steps to prove it's really you trying to log in. So for example, along with your username and password, you might be asked to enter a code that's been sent to your mobile phone, or an authenticator app, or to answer a secret question, or scan a fingerprint. You've probably done this when using online banking, or perhaps when logging into social media on a new device. And using more than just your username and password makes it much more difficult for criminals to gain access to your accounts. And as a care provider, you should consider using MFA on all your systems. And many systems have MFA, but some don't. And also it's possible to turn MFA off. So in order to reach standards met, you need to demonstrate that you've considered MFA on all your systems and either have turned it on and are using it, or that you've documented any exceptions if you decide not to use it, or if you can't use it because it's not available on your systems. And there's information about MFA on the Digital Care Hub if you want to know more. So to answer this question, tick the box to show that you have done that. You can write some optional comments in here. For instance, if you have made exceptions, you can say to which systems and why, and save that question.
Question 4.5.4 is about passwords. And as it says in the tooltip, you should give staff advice about managing their passwords. And your systems should have technical controls to enforce good password practice, such as passwords needing to be a minimum length, that's because longer passwords are stronger, or that the systems ban simple, obvious passwords, such as 1234. You should also give your staff advice on how to set strong passwords. You can use the technique of 3 random words, which is a really good way to pick passwords if you don't know it. There's information here on the Digital Care Hub about passwords, why it's important that people don't reuse them across different accounts, and also the advice that if you're going to let your staff store passwords using, say, a password manager, that you are clear about this and say what you do allow your staff to do and why. So this question isn't a tick box one. You need to actually write in here what you do. So this example, I've said that password training is part of mandatory data security awareness training, and that strong passwords are required by systems. So in this example, my IT system wouldn't let people use short passwords, or say ones without numbers in them, or reuse ones that have been used before, or whatever it is. So to answer this question, write your answer in there and click Save. Now scrolling down a bit, question 9.1.1 is about networking components. And networking components are physical devices that are required for communication and interaction between devices on a computer network. So they're things like Wi-Fi routers, firewalls, switches, hubs, that kind of thing. And most people have probably got a Wi-Fi router at least, even if they don't have the other things. Now sometimes when you buy these devices, they come out of the box with a set username and password as standard for all of those particular types of device, or maybe even for all the same for all of that provider's devices. So the login details for your device would be available on the internet, and this makes them particularly vulnerable, as you can imagine. So it's kind of like the network equivalent of buying a new phone and leaving your PIN number as 1234, because that's what it was when you bought it. So some network components do have unique usernames and passwords when you buy them, and if so, that's okay. But they might not, so it's always best to check and make sure and change them to something unique to you. So check all of those passwords, and once you've done that, click the box here to say that you've done something. You could write some optional comments in here to say that you've got unique passwords, and then save that one. Now, if you use IT systems at all of any kind, there's something really critical that you must do, and that's to back up your data. And there are 2 questions in the toolkit about backups in this IT systems and devices section. So question 7.3.1 asks if you have working backups. And backups are critical because if your device or your system is infected by a virus, or you're hacked, or your data is damaged, lost, stolen, held to ransom, whatever, it means you won't be able to get access to it. So to have and to make sure that you've got backups of your most important data is vital. And if there's one very important thing to note, it's to back up your data to somewhere else separate from where you normally keep it on your computer or your network, such as a secure external hard drive, or to a storage system based in the cloud that's designed for backups. There's lots of advice about this on the Digital Care Hub. You can click on this link, and in there's links to the National Cyber Security Centre about what backups are and how to do them. So to answer this question, you need to write down what it is you do. So in this example here, I've said that we have a cloud storage system. Just for instance said it's Google Drive, and we use it for backing up the X system, whatever it is. So it's a text box question. You write your answer in there and click Save. And the other question about backups is 7.3.4, and that asks, do you test those backups regularly? Because if you're saving confidential information offsite in the cloud or somewhere else as your backups, you need to be sure that you can retrieve it in case of emergency. So it's all very well doing backups, but if you were hacked or an incident occurred, would you definitely be able to get your information back? So that's what this question's all about. It's pushing you to test those backups on a regular basis. And if you do that, you can click here and press save.